I didn't know what they were doing, what their plan was, what was about to happen. I didn't really think I did anything wrong, so it wasn't no use to like run, try to hide from them or anything, so I just stood here and waited on them.
A farmer feeling the full weight and power of the state of South Carolina.
You got a warrant here for unlawful cultivation of hemp.
Under arrest for growing a crop he had a license to grow.
I can't call my lawyer before y'all mess with it?
No, sir, you call your lawyer down in jail. We gonna cut it regardless. Your lawyer can't stop us from cutting it. It's grown in an unlawful location.
He's accused SLED agents, the Attorney General, and the State Ag Department of conspiring to arrest him and destroy his $2 million hemp crop. Most of the raid caught on body camera.
Hey, let me talk to you, sir. Yes, sir.
Until the recording goes dark.
Guess who gets to turn the cameras on and off? Not the defendants, only the people wearing the cameras. And I don't think they should ever turn the cameras off in the course of an investigation. Because if they turn the cameras off, you can be assured they are going to try to do something that they don't want the public to know about.
This all happened 3 years ago at a farm near Charleston. That farmer filed a federal civil rights lawsuit last month alleging the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division ignored legal advice and a judge's warning to give the farmer his day in court before destroying his crop.
Well, tonight, new questions about that body camera recording and whether SLED agents followed the agency's body-worn camera policy during this raid. Here's Chief Investigator Jody Barr with tonight's follow-up to our Seize and Destroy investigation.
When SLED agents set sights on this Dorchester County hemp field,
it was planted just like where we had these rows, they were running just like the rows of corn.
Trent Pendarvis,
because we had them planted and we had it all irrigated with you see the pivot over here?
Was standing in the crosshairs. When Pendarvis met SLED agents at his hemp field in September 2019, agents were already there, ready to raid his farm and to destroy his crop. Pendarvis' lawsuit identifies the agent wearing this body camera as Captain Glenn Wood. Wood heads SLED's region office in Florence. The start of the recording shows Pendarvis shaking hands with Major Frank O'Neill, the man over SLED's drug unit. O'Neill is also the man who gave the command to arrest Pendarvis.
Go ahead then. All right.
Well, right now we're going to place you under arrest for growing hemp without a license.
For what?
Because this is an unlawful.
We'll serve the warrant here in just a minute. Tell you about what's all involved. Growing unlicensed, cultivating unlicensed hemp. You can't grow it and then try to mend it.
Less than a minute later, after Pendarvis asked several times to call his attorney.
Can I call my lawyer before y'all?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Let them finish getting your knives and stuff, and then they're going to take those cuffs loose. Okay. For a second, and we'll let you make that telephone call.
Wood assures Pendarvis he can make a call until O'Neill calls him to the side. That conversation was not recorded.
Hey, let me talk to you, sir. Yes, sir.
Wood restarts the recording and walks back to Pendarvis as SLED agent John Neal adjusts his handcuffs.
That body camera tells the tale of the tape. It's awfully revealing. He was asking for his lawyer, and they shut it down.
Pendarvis' legal team believes the SLED agents were discussing something in that sidebar that could likely help prove Pendarvis' allegations. Does it concern you when you see that recording start and stop?
Well, I would love to know exactly what was said when Major O'Neill called Agent Wood to the side and the audio goes out, because all those folks were included on the email that SLED sent Judge Goodstein trying to get that order signed.
Just 8 days earlier, SLED emailed Circuit Court Judge Diane Goodstein to ask her to sign an order giving SLED the authority to seize and destroy Pendarvis' hemp crop. The judge said no, but offered SLED a hearing to bring Pendarvis into court. Instead of a hearing, email records show SLED went to a lower court magistrate for an arrest warrant. The warrant affidavit shows SLED said nothing about its intention to destroy the farmer's crop. SLED left the magistrate's office and went to the farm.
Right now, we're going to place you under arrest for growing hemp.
To arrest Pendarvis. Recordings provided to Pendarvis' attorneys show the South Carolina Forestry Commission mowed the hemp down while Major Frank O'Neill and his team chopped it up.
They knew that what they were doing was wrong. And they knew that if it got in front of a judge that day, a judge would have put a stop to it. That's exactly why they didn't tell the magistrate what they intended to do that day either. They didn't want the magistrate to put a stop to it.
We filed a Freedom of Information Act request for SLED's body camera policy. It states body-worn cameras shall be utilized when agents are working assignments in uniform and interacting with the public unless exempted to do so by the chief.
Now, I'd rather you talk to my lawyer first.
The two agents in the recording were both in uniform. The reflection from Captain Wood's cell phone shows he was also in uniform with his SLED badge on display. We asked whether SLED Chief Mark Kill granted Wood an exemption, but SLED did not respond, citing the farmer's lawsuit as the reason. SLED's own policy explains why the agency has guidelines in the first place: to maximize effectiveness of the body-worn camera and maintain integrity of evidence. The policy states agents must record searches and arrests when interacting with the public.
And then they're going to take those cuffs loose.
Recordings show the only SLED agent with a camera was the one you're watching now. But there are times when agents can stop recording, which include situations that would risk the safety of confidential informants or where there is a victim of rape or sexual assault. Just 2 paragraphs down, SLED's policy shows that once an agent begins recording, it should remain on until the incident has reached a conclusion or the agent leaves the scene, or once the situation has evolved beyond the immediate preliminary encounter and has stabilized. If it becomes necessary to discuss the specifics of the event, investigation, or case with another officer or supervisor in furtherance of the investigation, the agent will note this on the video and may end the recording.
Hey, let me talk to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
In this case, the recording abruptly ends without notice. The recordings show it happened a second time when Wood walks over toward Major Frank O'Neill and a Dorchester County deputy having a conversation at the edge of the hemp field.
Good as I can remember, I was about right here where we at now.
Pendarvis and his attorneys want to know what was discussed and not recorded in those body camera videos.
But guess who gets to turn the cameras on and off? Not the defendants, only the people wearing the cameras. And I don't think they should ever turn the cameras off in the course of an investigation, because if they turn the cameras off, you can be assured they are going to try to do something that they don't want the public to know about.
They're not doing it to protect the accused.
They certainly are not when they turn the cameras off.
We wanted to ask SLED whether the agency ever looked into how Captain Glenn Wood used the body camera here. SLED Chief Mark Kill would not talk about any of this, invoking a SLED policy of not commenting when the agency is sued. However, whether agents follow the body camera policy is not a cause of action in the farmer's lawsuit. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request to find out if SLED ever reviewed this body camera policy question. SLED has a little less than 2 weeks to respond to our request.